Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at the fabulous Furry Freak Brothers in The Idiots Abroad Part 2, otherwise known as Freak Brothers number 9. This came out in 1985 and obviously is the second part of this amazing epic where the Freak Brothers travel around the world and get into all kinds of crazy adventures. I really like this cover. This does not happen in the comic at all. It's just this odd cover, kind of a tribute to Pere Ubu, it looks like, Alfred Jerry's character. I don't know if these guys, what the hell they're supposed to be dressed as, and what kind of crazy European country this is. But I really like this cover just for the daffiness of it. We have a really nice inside front cover by Gilbert Shelton and Paul Mavrides. The story so far. And we just see this little punk kid reading last issue until the proprietor of the story says, "Hey, this isn't a library, get the hell out of here." Oh, look at the colors in this. So this time the colors are done by Paul Mavrides and Guy Caldwell. And they're definitely sharper this time. They figured out the problems with the, staying within the lines and everything. But some of the pages, I gotta say, the color's not as interesting as it was last issue. This first page, I love this. But I don't know, I'm assuming maybe that's Guy Caldwell, because his colors were amazing last issue, but there were some printing problems. Now it seems like it's sorted out, but yeah, that's an amazing front cover. I'm sorry, splash page. So we're back in the British Isles. Fat Freddy is on the run, on the lam. He's surviving by eating vegetables out of people's gardens. He's eating all these Brussels sprouts. He finally finds a McDonald's. He gets to London and he chows down. Meanwhile, in this NATO base, I think it's NATO, or maybe it's just the British Army. But I mean, look at the detail Gilbert Shelton's putting into this. Yeah, I didn't even mention the cityscape there. Look at that. It's so nice that, this must be 15 years into the creation of the Freak Brothers. And Shelton, probably with the help of, because he's got Mavrides helping him, he's really up in his game. I mean, look at this work done in here. I mean, he's definitely not slacking off. So, of course, these guys are trying to find Andre the Hyena, the terrorist who is looking for the atom bomb that Freddy has. Well, Freddy used to have. Because if you remember last issue, Freddy ran off with this soccer ball that had a nuclear bomb in it. I love this little cutaway diagram of their little missile silo command center. So Freddy gets on this little boat just to catch a nap, and it becomes unmoored while he's asleep, and he ends up in the English Channel. Really like the colors here on the water. And this giant storm starts. I love this panel. That is just so manic. Almost reminds me of something Hunt Emerson would draw, the way he'd draw an ocean storm, So he lands in Amsterdam. He makes it across the English Channel. And he can't wait to go to a legal weed shop. Man, look at that. That is just a great panel. The colors and the art. He doesn't have any money, though, so they basically put him on a train. The police come and say, "We can't stand any tourists who don't have money. That's the one thing we don't tolerate in Amsterdam." So they send him to France. when he, of course, he goes to the first hamburger joint he can find. And the hyena is waiting for him. Andre. So he runs away. And he runs right into the Moulin Rouge, the famous Parisian nightclub. He does this total homage to Toulouse-Lautrec here. That's like totally, I think he just copied them from famous Toulouse-Lautrec prints. We see even a guy who looks like Toulouse-Lautrec over here sketching. So Andre and his buddy are like, where could he have gone? This is crazy. So they walk off defeated. Turns out Freddy was disguised as Toulouse-Lautrec, and he runs out of there after they leave. He says, I'm not too loose to truck. So he realizes that beer isn't very popular in France. So he hitches a ride to Spain, just so he can get some beer, some cerveza. As soon as he gets to Barcelona, he goes to another burger shop, and they're waiting for him there. Apparently, Andre knows how much Fat Freddy loves hamburgers, and figures if he waits at every hamburger joint, he'll eventually find him. So he takes to the rooftops to escape these guys. Look at that. This beautiful scenery here. And Freddy sees this crazy house. That is a really amazing drawing. I just love this. He says, somebody must have slipped me LSD. His house is just so bizarre. He jumps on the roof, and there's a guy there sketching. And his name's Pablo Picasso. He owns the house. He shows off his place to Freddy, all the beautiful artwork he's made. And the terrorists start shooting into the windows. They realize Freddy's inside. God, these comics are beautiful. I fucking love the art in these. So this is some crazy car he's designed. It's the fastest land vehicle in the world. It looks like a piece of art, though. Again, with the scenery. Look at this. And the colors. So they drive to his mountain palatial estate. And this Pablo guy's pretty rich. He makes a lot of inventions. He invented the yogurt slicing machine, in fact. So Freddy tells him his dilemma, how he's supposed to be down in Bogota. And Pablo Picasso gives him all the money and gives him directions to the plane and everything. And as a present, he gives him this anarchist flag because Pablo Picasso fought in the Civil War on the side of the anarchists. I like this example behind him of this crazy modern art. It just looks like zany cartooning. So he says, Freddy, just get on this train. It'll take you to Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, and then you'll catch your flight. Of course, Freddy fucks it up. And he gets on the wrong train when he's in Paris. And he gets on the Moscow Express. Of course, he doesn't realize it for a long time. He finally is looking at all these Russian signs. He's like, what's going on here? So then he finally realizes, and all these like customs guys are checking passports. And Freddy avoids them by hiding in bathrooms. But slowly he's running out of cars to retreat to. So at the very last car, he jumps out. And he's in Poland. And he's in this town called Gfatsk. And he remembers his grandfather talking about this village. It's the ancestral place of the Frykowskis family. So he's like, oh, I'm going to search for a cousin. And he starts talking to people saying, hey, my name's Frykowski. And they're all like, Frykowski? And they run him out of town. What Fat Freddy's grandfather never told him was just exactly why his ancestors left their home. So I guess the Frykowskis were some bad apples. So he gets back on the train. Yeah, I didn't mention that he pulled the emergency stop. That's how he jumped out. And the train is still stopped, so he gets back on. And he's in Moscow now. He visits the Museum of Vodka. When his suitcase opens up and people see his blue jeans, it starts a riot. And they even take his blue jeans. He's just running around in his underwear. And I guess Pablo Picasso was telling him that one of the communist guys that he was allied to during the Spanish Civil War is now a bigwig in the Russian, Communist Party. So Freddy sees this big May Day parade, and he says, all it is army stuff. Someone's got to liven this thing up. So he grabs his flag, and he says, "Hey, Colonel Kakov, are you up there? Greetings from your old comrade, Pablo Picasso." And he's running around with an anarchist flag in Red Square. Freddy is not too bright. Now we're back to the Colonel Cornbelt is the guy's name in Britain. So this fake story has been planted that Andre the Hyena has been caught and shot. The government doesn't want people to panic, knowing that there's this guy with a nuclear bomb running around. So Andre the Hyena calls up Colonel Cornbelt, and he says, "I want you to meet me here in Barcelona." So while they're talking, they trace the call, and within a short while, they're right behind him. But he says, I've got you covered. All my men are in positions. And they're on these rides, his terrorist friends. So they get on this ride to have a private discussion. And this is really interesting. Andre the Hyena says, "I understand you've recently been elected president of the International Brotherhood of Colonels." As if there's like a union for colonels. And he says, "Well, I'm the president of the International Union of Terrorists. We think you guys have been taking jobs that are legally ours." And he says, "Read these legal documents." And so they make a deal and are basically all buddies. I kind of like the idea that these terrorists would be saying, "You've been taking jobs of ours." Because a lot of times the military does things that are like outright terrorism, So now we're back with Franklin. If you remember, Franklin has been abducted by pirates and modern-day pirates. And they have crossed the Atlantic, and they're in an African port town called Duwadi. And the captain goes out with Franklin. He's like, "I'm going to show you something." And he takes him to a slave market. And Franklin thinks that he's just helping him shop for a new cook. He's like, "Let's get that slave. He's a cook." But he's, of course, is just going to trade Franklin for a slave. He says, "Yeah, we'll take that cook. I'll give you this guy. He can read and write." So now Franklin is chained up in this slave place. And who should be right next to him but Fat Freddy? Look how bad Freddy looks. This is really grim for a Freak Brothers comic. I mean, that looks really harsh. Look at the molding, though. Either Mavrides or Caldwell. That's some great effects they're getting on this, newsprint paper. So Freddy's lost a lot of weight. And then this guy gets carried in to the slave market. And it's Phineas, but he's really fat now. It's like he basically found all the weight that Freddy lost. And he buys them. And they're like, "Oh, Phineas, it's really you. I can't believe you rescued us." So he takes them to his swank tent, his nomadic tent. And he tells them the story about what happened. If you remember last time, he was left on the runway in Mecca with all of his possessions. And somehow he used this little computer to pull all these scams and make all this money. Then in the meantime, he started a fake religion to launder the money. Fundaligionism, he calls it. That's their symbol. But it takes off way more than he imagined. So he's getting even richer from his, fake religion. Translates his teachings into 300 different languages. So it really becomes this worldwide phenomenon. So now Phineas is the richest man in the world. And of course, Gilbert Shelton loves to draw these crazy mansions and stuff. These guys are playing polo on zebras. He's got all these cooks and servants. But apparently this has changed Phineas, because they're like, oh, that's a great story, Phineas. When are you going to set us free? And Phineas says, set you free? I didn't say anything about that. I paid for you, and now you belong to me. But then, so they basically have to carry his car for him. His whatever, the rickshaw type thing. Not a rickshaw, whatever you call those things. And then a big sandstorm comes. And they see a newspaper blown across the desert sands. And Freddy gets it. And the headline says, Earth rejoices, military sees world control. So I think that was part of the deal that the military made with the terrorists or something. I guess we'll find out next issue. But man, what a crazy issue. It's like, it's definitely not just a little road trip anymore. Here's some nice posters you could buy of the Freak Brothers. And then we close with another Shelton Mavrida's inside back cover. We see that little kid from the first inside front cover. He's all grown up and fat now. And he goes to visit Ripoff Press. Because ever since that guy kicked him out of the store, he's like, I'm going to get revenge on the freak, the guys who make the Freak Brothers. So he's left alone for a second, and he goes to that Computune 8000. I don't know if you remember that from last issue. The one that writes the plots for the Freak Brothers. And he says, I'll punch in some new storylines. Freewheelin' Franklin gets a mohawk. Fat Freddy defects to the commies. Phineas turns gay. And it's not working, so he opens the control panel in the back. And this guy jumps out. A comics fan, gotcha. And he says, I'm the president of Ripoff Press. A computer troll locked me inside this machine 5 years ago. The Computune 8000 requires some fresh blood. And he punches extremely painful torture into the Computune. And we can see the screams of this punk rock looking dude. Oh, really nice back cover too. Very weird. Good stuff, man. I don't want the Idiots Abroad ever to end, but it's going to next time. Well, not next episode, but in 4 or 5 episodes, we'll be looking at part 3 of the Idiots Abroad. I can't wait, and I hope you enjoyed this. I know I keep saying it, but man, I just can't get over these color issues. I just love how it looks. It seems to make it funnier even. Having all this, I don't know, it's just beautiful stuff. So hope you enjoyed it, guys, and hopefully I'll see you here next time at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.